The rain had been falling on Manhattan all day, making the streets shine like black mirrors under the city lights. Inside the Sterling Room, one of those fancy restaurants where a single meal costs more than most people make in a week, everything was warm and golden. Crystal glasses caught the light from chandeliers and soft jazz played from hidden speakers. But the real centerpiece of the whole place was a beautiful grand piano that sat in the corner, polished until it gleamed like a dark jewel. Nobody ever played it. Most customers didn't even notice it was there, too busy with their business deals and expensive wine. But she noticed it every single day. The waitress working the evening shift was 42 years old, though the long hours made her look older. Her name tag read Anna, and she had been carrying plates and pouring drinks at the Sterling Room for 3 years now. Her hands were rough from work, and there were permanent shadows under her eyes from getting up at 5 every morning to get her daughter ready for school before coming here. Anna had a way of moving through the restaurant that made her almost invisible. She could refill your water glass without you noticing she was there, clear plates while conversations continued uninterrupted. That's how the rich customers liked it, service that appeared like magic from people they didn't have to actually see. But tonight was different. Tonight something was about to change everything. It was a Friday evening in November, one of those nights when the restaurant was packed with people closing deals and celebrating victories that involved more money than Anna would see in a lifetime. She was working Section 3, which included the big round table near the window where a group of businessmen had just sat down. The man at the head of the table was impossible to ignore, not because he was loud or demanding. Actually, he was quieter than most. But there was something about him that made people pay attention. Maybe it was the way he really looked at people when they talked, like he was reading a book written on their faces. Or maybe it was because everyone in the restaurant knew who he was. Robert Wellington had built his fortune from nothing, starting with a single computer in his garage and ending up with a software company worth over $2 billion. The newspapers loved to write stories about him, the genius entrepreneur who could see opportunities where others saw nothing. He came to the Sterling Room once a month with his business partners, always the same table, always the same drink order. Anna approached, their table with her practiced smile, the one that was friendly but not too friendly, professional but warm. She had perfected it over 3 years of serving people who had everything while she worried about making rent. "Good evening, gentlemen. Can I start you with your usual drinks?" she asked, already knowing the answer. Wellington liked his whiskey. Neat. The man to his right always ordered red wine and the others would want martinis. As she moved around the table, taking orders she already knew by heart, something strange happened. She had to pass by the piano to get to Wellington's side of the table, and as she did, her free hand moved slightly. It was barely noticeable, just her fingers moving in a subtle pattern, like they were touching invisible keys. Her body swayed, just a tiny bit as if she could hear music that nobody else could. She didn't even realize she was doing it. It was something that happened sometimes, especially when she was tired. Her body remembered things her mind tried to forget. But Wellington saw it. His eyes, which missed nothing, caught the small movement. He watched the precise way her fingers moved, the slight tilt of her head as if listening to a melody only she could hear. He had seen that kind of movement before, at concert halls and private performances. Those weren't the random gestures of someone who had taken a few piano lessons as a kid. Those were the movements of someone who had lived and breathed music. Anna finished pouring water and was about to head back to the kitchen when Wellington's voice stopped her. "Excuse me," he said, and something in his tone made everyone at the table stop talking. "That piano over there, do you know if it actually works?" Anna turned, surprised by the question. In 3 years, she had maybe heard 5 customers even mention the piano. "Yes, sir, it works. They have it tuned every month," she replied, wondering where this was going. "The owner bought it at an estate sale. It's a beautiful instrument." "Do you play?" The question came out casual, but Wellington's eyes were sharp, studying her reaction. For just a second, Anna's professional mask slipped. Something flashed across her face. Maybe pain, maybe longing, maybe both. Then the smile was back, though it didn't quite reach her eyes this time. "I used to, sir. A very long time ago." Used to, Wellington repeated, leaning back in his chair. That's interesting. You don't really stop knowing how to play piano, do you? It's like riding a bike. His business partners were watching now, amused by their boss's sudden interest in the waitress. One of them, a younger man with an expensive haircut, smirked a little. Anna saw it and felt her cheeks burn. She needed this job. She couldn't afford to be interesting. I should check on your drinks, she said, starting to turn away. What if I made you an offer? Wellington's voice carried across the growing quiet. Other tables were starting to notice the conversation. Anna stopped but didn't turn around. Sir? Wellington reached into his wallet and pulled out 5 crisp $100 bills. He placed them on the white tablecloth, spreading them out like a poker hand. $500 says you can't play something on that piano that impresses us. Consider it a tip either way, but only if you actually play something. The restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Conversations at nearby tables stopped. A woman at table 6 actually put down her phone to watch. The manager, Mr. Dmitri, started walking over from his post by the reception desk, his face showing concern. He didn't like anything that disrupted the careful choreography of service. Anna finally turned around. She looked at the money on the table. $500. That was her daughter's medicine for the month. That was the electricity bill and groceries. That was breathing room in a life that never seemed to have any. Mr. Wellington, she said quietly, I appreciate the offer, but I'm working. I have tables to serve. I'll cover your tables, another waitress, Lisa, suddenly said from behind her. Lisa was 23, still new enough to find the job exciting. Go on, Anna. When's the last time anyone actually played that thing? Wellington's eyes never left Anna's face. He was seeing something there, some story written in the lines around her eyes and the way she held her shoulders. This wasn't just about music anymore. This was about something hidden, something buried. Just one song, he said. If you really used to play, show us. What's the harm? Anna looked around the restaurant. Every eye was on her now. The other customers had that look rich people get when they're about to be entertained by something unexpected, like she was about to become their dinner theater. But then she looked at the piano itself, the beautiful, perfectly maintained Steinway that she had avoided looking at directly for 3 years. It sat there like a door to another life, another version of herself that she had locked away when reality demanded she become someone else. Her daughter needed so much: medical treatments, special tutoring, equipment the insurance wouldn't cover. Anna had been saying no to herself for so long that she had forgotten what saying yes felt like. One song, she heard herself say, and the words seemed to come from very far away. The restaurant erupted in quiet excitement. Phones appeared in hands, ready to record. Wellington leaned back with a satisfied smile, but there was something else in his expression, too. Curiosity, maybe even recognition of something kindred. After all, he had been someone else once, too, before the money and success. Anna walked toward the piano, and with each step, something changed in her. The tired slouch of her shoulders began to straighten. Her chin lifted slightly. By the time she reached the bench, she looked different. Not younger exactly, but more alive, as if someone had turned up the brightness on a dimmed light. She stood there for a moment, just looking at the keys. 88 of them, black and white, waiting. How many times had she told herself she would never do this again? How many times had she walked past pianos in stores and other restaurants and forced herself to keep walking? But tonight was different. Tonight, a stranger's challenge had opened a door she had kept locked, and now she had to decide whether to walk through it. Anna sat down on the piano bench, and the leather creaked slightly under her weight. It was a sound she knew so well it made her heart ache. She adjusted the bench height without thinking about it, her hands knowing exactly how many turns of the knobs would put her at the perfect distance from the keys. Some things the body never forgets. The restaurant was so quiet now that she could hear the rain tapping against the windows. Every single person had stopped eating, stopped talking, stopped everything to watch this waitress who had just agreed to play for money. She could feel their eyes on her back like heat from a fire. Mr. Dimitri, the manager, had frozen halfway between the kitchen and Wellington's table. His face showed a mix of worry and curiosity. In 3 years, Anna had never caused a single problem. She was the one he could count on to handle difficult customers, to cover extra shifts without complaining, to train the new servers. Now she was about to become the center of attention, and he didn't know whether to stop her or watch like everyone else. Anna placed her hands on her lap and took a deep breath. The $500 on Wellington's table might as well have been glowing. She thought about her daughter, Lily, at home with the neighbor watching her. Lily, who needed special therapy 3 times a week. Lily, who never complained even when Anna had to say no to things other kids took for granted. "Whenever you're ready," Wellington said, his voice carrying clearly across the silent restaurant. But there was something different in his tone now. The playfulness from before had been replaced by genuine interest. Anna lifted her hands and held them over the keys. They were shaking slightly. When was the last time she had played for an audience? Not since... No, she wouldn't think about that now. She couldn't afford to fall apart in front of all these people. She touched the first key, just middle C, letting the note ring out. The piano's tone was perfect, rich and full. Whoever took care of this instrument knew what they were doing. She pressed a few more keys, like she was testing them, but really she was testing herself. Could she still do this? "I'm a bit rusty," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. A few people chuckled, thinking she was making excuses. They expected some simple tune, maybe chopsticks, or a half-remembered piece from childhood lessons. Wellington's business partners were already exchanging glances, probably thinking their boss had wasted $500 on a joke. Then Anna began to play for real. The first notes of the piece filled the restaurant like water filling a glass, rising and spreading until they touched every corner. She had chosen Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor, a piece that started gentle and built to something magnificent. It was a risk. This wasn't some simple melody. This was one of the most challenging pieces in the classical repertoire, something that professional pianists spent years perfecting, but her fingers remembered. They flew across the keys with a precision that seemed impossible for someone who had been carrying trays just minutes ago. The opening melody was like a question being asked, soft and searching. People who had been holding up their phones to record slowly lowered them, realizing they were witnessing something beyond a simple restaurant stunt. Wellington leaned forward in his chair. He knew enough about music to recognize what he was hearing. This wasn't just someone who had taken lessons as a kid. This was mastery. As the piece developed, building in complexity and emotion, Anna's whole body became part of the performance. She swayed slightly with the rhythm, her face showing every feeling the music conveyed: longing, joy, sorrow, triumph. The tired waitress had disappeared completely. In her place sat an artist. A woman at a corner table started crying quietly. She had heard this piece performed at Carnegie Hall last year, but somehow this was different. This had something raw and real in it, like the pianist was telling her own story through Chopin's notes. The music grew more intense, technical passages that required incredible skill flowing from Anna's fingers as if they were the easiest thing in the world. But it wasn't just the technical skill that held everyone captive. It was the emotion she poured into every phrase. You could hear years of something, loss maybe, or dreams deferred, in the way she played. Mr. Dimitri had moved closer without realizing it. His mouth was slightly open in shock. He had hired this woman 3 years ago. He had watched her clean tables and deal with rude customers and work doubles when they were short-staffed. How had he never known this about her? At Wellington's table, one of his partners, James Hartford, was gripping his wine glass so tightly his knuckles were white. He was on the board of the New York Philharmonic. He had heard the best pianists in the world perform, and he knew he was hearing one of them right now in a restaurant, wearing a server's uniform with a name tag that said Anna. The piece reached its climax, a section that demanded everything from a pianist: speed, power, delicacy, control. Anna gave it everything she had and more. Her hands were a blur, but every note was crystal clear, every phrase perfectly shaped. The piano seemed to sing under her touch as if it had been waiting all this time for someone who really knew how to play it. Then, as Chopin had written, the storm passed. The final section was quiet, reflective, almost like a goodbye. Anna played it with such tenderness that several more people found themselves wiping their eyes. She held the last note, letting it fade naturally into silence. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The only sound was the rain against the windows and the faint hum of the city outside. Then the restaurant exploded. People stood up, applauding and cheering. Someone whistled. The woman who had been crying was now openly sobbing and clapping at the same time. Even the kitchen staff had come out to applaud, their white uniforms stark against the dim lighting of the dining room. Anna sat there, her hands still on the keys, trembling. She had forgotten what this felt like. Not just the playing, but the connection with an audience, the way music could reach into people and touch something deep inside. She had buried this part of herself so deeply that she had almost believed it was gone. But it wasn't. It had just been waiting. Wellington was the first to speak. He stood up slowly, his expression completely changed from the confident businessman who had made the bet. He looked humbled. "My God," he said, and his voice carried across the gradually quieting restaurant. "Who are you?" Anna finally turned around on the bench. The mask of the professional waitress was trying to slide back into place, but it didn't quite fit anymore. Something had shifted. "I'm nobody special," she said, but even she didn't believe it now. I used to play. Before." Before what? Hartford had found his voice. That wasn't just playing, that was... Where did you train? Who did you study with? Anna stood up from the bench, smoothing her uniform. Reality was creeping back in. These people didn't want to hear about a failed career, about choosing between piano lessons and medical bills, about selling a treasured instrument to pay for therapy equipment. "It doesn't matter," she said. "That was another life." Wellington pulled out his wallet again. This time he didn't count the bills. He just pulled out everything he had and set it on the piano. "The 500 was for playing," he said. "This is for showing us who you really are." "I can't," Anna started to say, but Wellington held up his hand. "You can and you will," he said. "Because that talent, what you just did, that doesn't belong hidden in a restaurant uniform. I don't know your story, but I know there's one there, and I have a feeling it's not finished yet." The other customers were starting to sit back down, but the atmosphere in the restaurant had completely changed. People were talking excitedly, showing each other the videos they had captured. Anna heard someone say viral and millions of views and felt a flutter of panic. "I need to get back to work," she said. But Lisa, the young waitress, shook her head. "Are you kidding? After that? Anna, what just happened? Where did you learn to play like that?" But before Anna could answer, before she could retreat back into her safe invisibility, Hartford pulled out his phone. "I need to make a call," he said. "Don't go anywhere. Please." And that's when Anna realized that her carefully controlled life, the one where she was just a waitress, just a single mom trying to make ends meet, had just cracked wide open. The question was, what would come flooding through? Anna stood frozen as Hartford spoke rapidly into his phone, his voice urgent but excited. She could only catch pieces of the conversation. "You need to hear this, and I'm sending you a video right now. And trust me on this one." The money Wellington had placed on the piano seemed to mock her. It was more than she made in 2 weeks just sitting there. But taking it felt like admitting something she wasn't ready to admit. That she wasn't just a waitress, that the last 15 years hadn't erased who she used to be. "Please," she said to Wellington, "I really need to get back to my tables." "Your tables are fine," Mr. Dimitri said, surprising everyone, including himself. "Lisa and Thomas can cover. I think you should hear what Mr. Hartford has to say." Anna looked at her manager, this man who had never shown any particular interest in her beyond her ability to show up on time and handle difficult customers. His eyes were different now, like he was seeing her for the first time. Hartford ended his call and walked over to Anna. "That was my colleague at Lincoln Center. She's the artistic director for their Emerging Artists program. I just sent her the video. She wants to meet you. I'm not an emerging artist, Anna said quickly. I'm 42 years old. I'm a mother. I work here. I'm not. That's not who I am anymore. Anymore, Wellington repeated, catching the word. So you were a professional musician? Anna's shoulders sagged. The adrenaline from performing was wearing off, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. All these people staring at her, waiting for her story. She had worked so hard to disappear, to become invisible, and now she was standing in a spotlight she couldn't escape. 15 years ago, she said finally, her voice quiet enough that people leaned in to hear. I was someone else. She walked back to the piano bench and sat down, but this time she faced the room instead of the keys. If she was going to tell this story, she might as well tell it. My name is Anna now, but it used to be Anna Volkov. My mother was Russian, my father was American. They met when he was studying in Moscow. My mother was a pianist with the Moscow Philharmonic. Music was everything in our house. The restaurant was completely silent. Even the kitchen had stopped its usual clatter. I started playing when I was 4. Not because anyone made me, but because I couldn't stay away from the piano. It was like breathing for me. More natural than walking or talking. My mother saw it right away. Not just talent, but the hunger for it. The need. She paused, her fingers unconsciously tracing patterns on her uniform. We moved to New York when I was 7. My mother knew I needed better teachers, more opportunities. She cleaned houses during the day and gave piano lessons at night to pay for my training. My father worked 3 jobs. Everything was about the music. Everything was about giving me the chance they never had. Wellington had sat back down, his forgotten whiskey in his hand. Hartford was recording everything on his phone, but quietly, respectfully. I got into Juilliard when I was 16, Anna continued. Full scholarship. I was going to be everything my parents dreamed. I won competitions, performed with orchestras. When I was 23, I played at Carnegie Hall. Can you imagine? The daughter of immigrants standing on that stage where Horowitz played, where Rubinstein played. Her voice caught slightly, but she pushed through. I was 27 when I met David. He was a cellist with the symphony. We fell in love the way musicians do, intensely, completely. We got married 6 months later. A year after that, our daughter was born. Anna's face changed when she mentioned her daughter. The pain that had been there shifted to something fiercer, more protective. Lily was perfect, beautiful, but when she was 6 months old, we knew something was wrong. She wasn't meeting milestones, doctors, specialists, tests. Finally, a diagnosis, a rare neurological condition. Treatable, they said, but expensive. So expensive. A woman at a nearby table was openly crying now. Anna didn't seem to notice. I tried to keep playing at first, but Lily needed round-the-clock care. Therapy sessions, special equipment. David, he couldn't handle it. He said he loved us, but he loved music more. He left when Lily was 2. The judgment in the room was palpable. Someone muttered something under their breath about David that wasn't polite. I sold everything, Anna said, simply. My piano, a beautiful Yamaha my parents had saved for 10 years to buy me. My evening gowns, my music collection. I canceled my recording contract with Deutsche Grammophon. They were going to record my Chopin interpretations. I walked, away from all of it. Hartford made a shocked sound. Deutsche Grammophon was one of the most prestigious classical labels in the world. Getting a contract with them was like winning the lottery for classical musicians. The money from selling everything lasted 2 years. I tried teaching piano, but the schedule didn't work with Lily's needs, so I started waiting tables. The hours were flexible, the tips were cash, and I could work around her therapy appointments. The Sterling Room hired me 3 years ago. The pay is good here, better than most places. And I could afford Lily's treatments. She stood up from the bench, straightening her uniform again. So you see, I'm not some hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. I'm not a story of wasted talent. I'm a mother who made a choice. I chose my daughter over music, and I would make the same choice again every single time. The room was so quiet you could hear the coffee machine humming in the distance. Wellington stood up slowly. How is your daughter now? For the first time since she started talking, Anna smiled. A real smile, not her waitress smile. She's 15. She's brilliant. She reads at a college level. She's funny and kind and brave. She uses a wheelchair, but she doesn't let it stop her. She wants to be a writer. She says she's going to write stories about people who are different but amazing. Like her mom, she says. Anna laughed softly. She doesn't even know about the piano. I've never told her. What would be the point? That life is gone. But it's not, Hartford said urgently. What you just played. Anna, talent like that doesn't just disappear. It's still there. I could what? Anna interrupted. Go back to performing? I'm 42. I haven't practiced properly in over a decade. The classical music world doesn't take breaks. There are 20-year-olds coming out of conservatories who can play everything I can play, but better, faster, with more stamina. That's not true, Hartford said firmly. What you have, what I just heard, that's not about age or practice. That's about soul. That's about having lived, having lost, having chosen. No 20-year-old can play with that kind of depth. Wellington reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card, but he didn't hand it to Anna right away. My company, he said, has a foundation. We started it last year. It's for artists who left their careers for family obligations. We provide support, financial, practical, whatever they need, to help them return to their art if they want to, while still being parents. Anna stared at the card but didn't take it. I don't need charity, she said. It's not charity, Wellington replied. It's an investment. In art. In the idea that becoming a parent shouldn't mean giving up who you are. That sacrifice doesn't have to be absolute. The restaurant was starting to return to normal. People were going back to their meals, but there was still an electric feeling in the air. Videos of Anna's performance were already being uploaded to social media. Within hours, they would have thousands of views. Within days, millions. But Anna didn't know that yet. All she knew was that she had opened a door she had kept locked for 15 years, and now she didn't know how to close it again, or if she even wanted to. 3 weeks had passed since that night at the Sterling Room. Anna had tried to return to her normal life, but normal didn't exist anymore. The video of her playing had been viewed over 10 million times. Her phone, which usually only rang when the school called about Lily or when work needed her to cover a shift, now rang constantly. She had changed her number twice, but somehow, people kept finding her. It was a Thursday morning and Anna was sitting in her small kitchen staring at the pile of letters on the table. Recording companies, talent agents, concert halls, everyone wanted to meet the mystery waitress pianist. She hadn't opened most of them. What was the point? She had a shift at 4, and Lily had therapy at 7. That was real life. Mom, you're being weird again, Lily said, rolling her wheelchair into the kitchen. At 15, she had perfected the art of the teenage eye roll, wheelchair or not. I'm not being weird. I'm thinking, Anna replied, quickly covering the letters with, a newspaper. About that video everyone's talking about? Lily asked casually, reaching for the orange juice. Anna froze. What video? Lily gave her a look that said she wasn't stupid. The one where a waitress plays piano at some fancy restaurant and makes everyone cry? The one that has 10 million views? The one where the waitress looks exactly like my mom and is wearing the same uniform you wear to work? Anna's heart sank. She had hoped to protect Lily from all this, at least until she figured out what to do. You knew? Anna asked weakly. Mom, I'm in a wheelchair, not living under a rock. Everyone at school has seen it. Katie's mom recognized you and called to ask if we were going to be rich and famous now. We're not going to be rich and famous, Anna said firmly. Why not? Lily asked, and there was something in her voice that made Anna look up sharply. Mom, why didn't you ever tell me you could play like that? Anna had prepared for a lot of reactions, but the hurt in her daughter's voice caught her off guard. It was from before, Anna said. Before you were born. It didn't seem important. Not important? Mom, you played at Carnegie Hall. I Googled you. Anna Volkov. There are old reviews calling you The future of American classical music. There's a photo of you with Yo-Yo Ma. Anna stared at her daughter. You Googled me? Of course I did. My mother is apparently some secret piano genius, and I had to find out from TikTok. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Before Anna could respond, there was a knock at the door. They never had visitors. Anna's life had been carefully constructed to avoid connections, complications, anything that might disrupt the delicate balance of survival. I'll get it, Lily said, but Anna was already moving. Through the peephole, she saw Wellington. He was alone, no bodyguards or assistants, just standing there in a regular suit instead of his usual expensive one. He was holding a bakery box. Anna opened the door a crack. How did you find me? I have resources, Wellington said simply. But I come in peace. I brought donuts. The good kind from that place on 42nd. We don't need, Anna started, but Lily had rolled up behind her. Are you the rich guy from the video? Lily asked bluntly. Wellington smiled. I prefer successful entrepreneur, but yes, you must be Lily. Your mother told us about you. She told you about me but didn't tell me about her being a famous pianist. Makes sense, Lily said with teenage sarcasm. Lily, Anna protested. May I come in? Wellington asked. 5 minutes, that's all I ask. Anna wanted to say no, but Lily was already backing up her wheelchair to make room. Come on in, rich guy. Let's see these supposedly good donuts. Their apartment was small but clean. Wellington didn't comment on the water stain on the ceiling or the second-hand furniture. He sat at their kitchen table like he belonged there, opening the bakery box to reveal an assortment that probably cost more than Anna made in tips on a slow night. I'm not here to pressure you, Wellington began, looking at Anna. But something has happened that you need to know about. If it's about the recording offers, Anna started. It's not, Wellington interrupted. He pulled out his phone and showed them a video. This was posted yesterday. The video showed a young girl, maybe 12, playing piano in what looked like a hospital recreation room. She was playing the same Chopin piece Anna had played, or trying to. Her face was intense with concentration, and she kept looking at something, off-screen. Probably Anna's video playing on a phone or tablet. Since your video went viral, Wellington explained, thousands of people have started sharing their own stories. Parents who gave up dreams, kids who never knew their parents, were artists. This girl? She's been in that hospital for 6 months. She said your video made her want to learn piano because if someone could play like that after 15 years of not playing, then maybe she could learn even while sick. Anna's eyes filled with tears. Lily reached over and took her hand. Wellington continued, there's more. A 60-year-old man in Ohio who put away his violin when his wife got cancer. He played again for the first time in 20 years. A woman in Japan who stopped dancing to care for her aging parents. She's teaching again. Your story, it's not just your story anymore. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, Anna said, quietly. The best things rarely happen on purpose, Wellington replied. Then he turned to Lily. What do you think your mom should do? Lily was quiet for a moment, unusual for her. I think, she said slowly, that my mom has spent my whole life trying to protect me from feeling guilty about her choices. But maybe I don't want protection. Maybe I want a mom who shows me that you can be more than one thing, that you can be a parent and still be yourself. Anna looked at her daughter, really looked at her. When had she become so wise? The foundation I told you about, Wellington said. We want to offer you something, not charity, an opportunity. We'll provide a practice space, a piano for your home, and a flexible schedule that works around Lily's needs. You can start small, maybe one concert, see how it feels. Hartford has already talked to Lincoln Center. They want you for their spring gala. That's in 3 months, Anna said. I haven't properly practiced in 15 years. I can't. You can, Lily interrupted. Mom, that video. You weren't even trying and you made everyone cry. Imagine what you could do if you actually tried. Wellington pulled out a folder. There's more. The foundation covers medical expenses for family members, full coverage, not just basic insurance, everything Lily needs. Anna's breath caught. Everything Lily needed. Therapy, equipment, the new treatments they couldn't afford to try. Why? Anna asked. Why do you care so much about this? Wellington was quiet for a moment. My mother was a violinist. She gave it up when she had me and my sister. She died when I was 25 before I made my fortune. I found her violin in the attic after she died, hidden in a case covered in dust. Inside, there was a program from her last concert, the night before she found out she was pregnant with me. She never played again. He stood up. I can't help my mother, but maybe I can help you. Maybe I can help all the parents who think they have to choose between their dreams and their children. Maybe we can prove that sometimes you can have both. Anna looked at the folder, at Wellington, at her daughter. 15 years of carefully built walls were crumbling. One concert, she said finally. I'll try one concert, Lily whooped, actually raising her arms in victory. Wellington smiled, a real smile this time, not his businessman smile. One concert, he agreed. But I have a feeling it won't be the last. As he left, Anna sat at the kitchen table, her hand resting on the folder. For the first time in 15 years, she allowed herself to imagine sitting at a piano not as a waitress stealing a moment, but as herself. As Anna Volkov, it terrified her. It thrilled her. It felt like coming home. The Lincoln Center was packed. Every single seat was filled, and there were people standing in the back. The spring gala was always popular, but this year was different. This year, everyone wanted to see the waitress who had made the world cry. Backstage, Anna stood in front of a mirror, barely recognizing herself. She wore a deep blue evening gown, simple but elegant, provided by the foundation. Her hands shook as she adjusted the necklace Lily had insisted she wear, a small silver piano charm they had found at a thrift store years ago. 5 minutes, Ms. Volkov, a stagehand said, and the name still felt foreign after all these years. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Mom, I'm in the front row. Dad's here too. Anna's heart stopped. David was here. After 13 years of absence, he had shown up tonight. She wanted to peek through the curtain, but she couldn't. Not yet. The 3 months of preparation had been the hardest and most wonderful time of her life. Wellington had kept his promise. A beautiful Steinway had been delivered to their apartment, somehow fitting into their small living room. Anna had practiced while Lily did homework, and for the first time her daughter had heard her really play. Not just one piece in a restaurant, but hours of music flowing through their home. The physical therapy for her hands had been painful. 15 years of carrying trays had changed her muscles, stiffened joints that needed to be fluid. But Dr. Chen, the specialist Wellington had found, had worked miracles. Muscle memory is a powerful thing, she had said. Your hands want to remember. And they did remember. Slowly at first, then faster, like a river breaking through a dam. Pieces she thought she had forgotten came flooding back. Her neighbors complained at first, then started leaving notes asking for specific songs. The elderly man upstairs said, it was better than his pills for helping him sleep. Ms. Volkov, it's time. Anna walked toward the stage, her legs feeling like water. She could hear Hartford's voice through the microphone, introducing her. He was telling her story, but she wasn't listening. She was thinking about Lily, about the medical treatments they had started with the foundation's help. The new therapy was working. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. Her daughter might walk independently one day. Ladies and gentlemen, Anna Volkov. The applause was thunderous before she even appeared. When she walked onto the stage, it got even louder. She saw the audience rise to their feet, and it took everything she had not to run. But then she saw Lily in the front row, beaming, giving her a thumbs up. And next to her, David, older and grayer, his eyes already wet with tears. Anna sat at the piano bench and waited for the applause to die down. The program said she would play 3 pieces, but she had made a decision that morning. She leaned toward the microphone that had been set up beside the piano. Good evening, she said, her voice steadier than she expected. 15 years ago, I left this world because I thought I had to choose between music and motherhood. I thought sacrifice meant giving up everything. I was wrong. The audience was completely silent. My daughter Lily is here tonight. She's the bravest person I know. She taught me that you can be many things at once, that you don't have to cut off pieces of yourself to be a good parent, that children need to see their parents as whole people, with dreams and talents and stories that started before they were born. She looked directly at Lily, who was wiping her eyes with her sleeve, not caring who saw. So tonight I'm not playing the program you have. I'm playing something else. I'm playing the pieces I used to play for Lily when she was a baby, when I thought no one was listening, when it was just us and the music and the hope that someday things would get better. Anna turned to the piano and began to play, not Chopin this time, but a simple lullaby she had composed herself during those long nights when Lily couldn't sleep because of pain. She had never written it down, never played it for anyone else, but her fingers knew every note. The melody was simple, almost like a children's song, but there was something profound in its simplicity. It spoke of 2 a.m. feedings and hospital waiting rooms, of small victories and enormous fears, of love that was bigger than any stage or applause. From there, she moved into Bach, then Debussy, then back to her own compositions, pieces she had created during stolen moments over the years, humming melodies while washing dishes, tapping out rhythms on the subway. It wasn't the formal program anyone expected, but it was honest. It was real. It was her story, told in music. 45 minutes later, she played her final note. The silence that followed felt sacred. Then Lily started clapping, alone at first, the sound sharp and clear in the quiet hall. One by one, others joined until the entire audience was on its feet again, but this time it felt different. Not just admiration for technical skill, but recognition of something deeper. Anna stood and bowed, then did something unplanned. She walked to the edge of the stage and reached down for Lily's hand. "Come up here," she said into the microphone. "Mom, no," Lily protested, but she was laughing. "Come on," Anna insisted. With help from an usher and David, Lily was lifted onto the stage, wheelchair and all. "This is my daughter," Anna said to the audience. "She's the reason I stopped playing, but she's also the reason I started again. She reminded me that our children don't need perfect parents, they need real ones." The applause now was different again, warmer somehow. Anna saw Wellington in the third row, nodding with satisfaction. Hartford was openly weeping. Even Mr. Dimitri was there, having closed the restaurant early so the entire staff could attend. After the concert, in the reception hall, Anna was surrounded by people wanting to congratulate her, to book her, to interview her, but she kept looking for David. Finally, she found him standing by a window looking out at the city lights. "You came," she said simply. "I'm sorry," he replied, and those 2 words carried 13 years of regret. "I was young and selfish and scared. I thought music was everything. I was wrong. You and Lily were everything, and I was too stupid to see it." "We don't need you now," Anna said, but there was no anger in it, just fact. "I know," David said, "but maybe you could let me try to be something. Not a husband, not even a full father, but something. I want Lily to know I'm sorry. I want to help if you'll let me." Anna looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "We'll see." Later, as Anna and Lily were leaving, they passed the Sterling room. It was lit up, busy with the late dinner crowd. Through the window, Anna could see her replacement serving table. 3, the piano sitting silent in the corner. "Do you miss it?" Lily asked. "The restaurant?" "The simplicity. When you were just a waitress and I was just a kid with a wheelchair and we were just us." Anna thought about it. "No," she said finally, "because we were never just anything. We were always extraordinary. It just took a while for us to remember." 6 months later, Anna's album, The Sterling Sessions, was released. It included the lullaby she had written for Lily, which became the most downloaded classical piece of the year. She performed regularly, but never more than twice a month, always scheduling around Lily's needs. The foundation Wellington started grew into a nationwide program, helping hundreds of parent artists return to their crafts while maintaining their family priorities. Anna became its spokesperson, traveling to speak at conferences, always with Lily by her side. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, Anna would return to the Sterling room. Not as a waitress, not as a performer, but as a customer. She would sit at table 3 with Lily, eating overpriced food and watching the piano sit silent in the corner, remembering the night when a dare changed everything. The piano was eventually donated to a community center where children from the neighborhood could learn for free. A small plaque was attached to it. Music belongs to everyone. Never let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise. And in a small apartment in Manhattan, a mother and daughter would sit together each evening. One at the piano, one writing stories, both finally whole, both finally free, both fi.